fucking schizo. Don't shoot. Please.
The story begins with Jess, a single mother who has quietly devoted her life to raising her son, a boy with an intellectual disability. On an otherwise ordinary morning, as she moves through her usual routine, something strange happens. The doorbell rings, but when she steps outside to check, there is absolutely nobody there. Back inside, she spots a reminder note stuck to the wall. It reads, 8:30 a.m. Her friend has invited her out for a day on the water, and she is already running late. She packs her things, loads up the car, and heads off to meet the group. The trip is organized by Greg, who owns a sailboat and has gathered a small crew of friends for a day at sea. There are 6 of them in total: Greg's old high school friends Sally and Downey, a married couple, Sally's best friend Heather, and the last 2 to arrive, Victor and Jess. From the moment she steps aboard, something about Jess seems off. She looks worn down, emotionally distant. When she sees Greg, she pulls him into a hug and whispers an apology, though she brushes off his concern, insisting she is fine, just tired. Nobody pushes the subject, and with the brief pleasantries out of the way, the 6 of them set off across the open ocean. Jess is so exhausted that she falls asleep almost immediately after boarding. While she drifts, she has a strange dream. She sees herself washed up alone on a beach somewhere. When she wakes, 2 hours have already passed. Meanwhile, Greg, steering the boat, has been quietly worried about her. He pulls Victor aside and asks what is going on with Jess. Victor admits he noticed it too. Earlier, when the 2 of them were walking toward the dock, he had casually asked Jess why she had not brought her son along. She stared up at the sky for a long 20 seconds before answering that her son had gone to school that day. But it is Saturday. There is no school on a Saturday. Before anyone can bring it up again, Jess emerges from below deck looking more rested, and the moment passes. Everyone lets it go. For a while, the sailboat glides smoothly across the water under a steady wind. Then, without warning, everything goes eerily quiet. The wind dies completely. The ocean holds its breath. And then, on the horizon, something terrible begins moving toward them. A massive storm is closing in fast. Greg scrambles to radio the Coast Guard, but the signal cuts out before he can report their position. The sea transforms in seconds. Calm water becomes violent, churning waves. The crew cuts the ropes and drops the mainsail, desperately trying to reduce drag, but it is not enough. The storm is ferocious. Within moments, it flips the boat entirely, throwing all 6 of them into the sea. Then, just as suddenly as it arrived, the storm is gone. The ocean goes flat again. Thanks to their life jackets, 5 of the 6 survive, but Heather is nowhere to be found. She has simply vanished. Stranded and exhausted, with hope rapidly draining away, a massive ocean liner appears in the distance. They wave, they scream, they do everything they can to get its attention. And it works. Someone on the ship seems to see them. They are saved. Once on board, the group spreads out in search of crew members or any sign of life. But the ship is completely empty. The corridors are silent. Then they find a display board in the hallway describing the vessel. This is the Aeolus, built in 1932. The name comes from Greek mythology. Aeolus was a man who cheated death itself and was punished by the gods for it. In the banquet hall, they discover a dining table set with fresh fruit, clearly prepared by someone recently. And yet the room is just as empty as the rest of the ship. But when Jess glances down at her watch and then up at the wall clock, both of them read 8:17. Before anyone can process that, Jess spots someone, watching them from the shadows. Victor is the first to react, taking off after the mysterious figure. Greg, sensing the danger, tells Downey and Sally to stay put while he and Jess search the ship. They stop at the door to room 237. There is a sound coming from inside, running water. Greg knocks. No answer. They go in. In the bathroom, alongside the sound of the faucet, they find something far more disturbing. A message has been written on the mirror in blood. Greg tries to convince her it is just a prank by the crew, but Jess is not buying it. She wants to go back, find the others, and get off this ship immediately. But when she returns to the banquet hall, Downey and Sally are already gone. Then, a noise at the entrance to the hall makes her jump. She ducks behind a pillar, and it is Victor, staggering through the doorway covered in blood, barely able to stand. Jess moves to help him, but Victor suddenly lunges forward and grabs her by the throat. In a desperate struggle, Jess finds a wound on the back of his head and uses it against him, striking it hard enough to bring him down. She barely has a moment to breathe before a gunshot rings out from the direction of the theater. Jess sprints inside and is immediately accused by Sally of being a killer. The truth hits her like ice water. Greg has been shot. As he collapsed, he called out Jess's name. Before anyone can react, another shot comes from the upper level of the theater. Downey and Sally are both struck and killed. Jess barely makes it out the door before the shooter comes for her too. She reaches the deck but is immediately ambushed by a masked figure. She begs for her life. The masked attacker hesitates. Something about seeing Jess face to face seems to throw them off. Jess uses that split second of hesitation to run. The masked figure reloads and gives chase, firing twice more before running out of ammunition. The two end up at the bow of the ship, where a hand-to-hand fight breaks out. Despite the masked attacker having already killed the rest of the group, Jess overpowers them. Cornered, the masked figure delivers a chilling warning before going over the railing. The only way to get home is to kill everyone. Then they are gone, swallowed by the ocean. Jess stands alone on the deck. Every single one of her friends is dead. Then she hears voices. She rushes to the side of the ship and looks down, and sees her friends, all of them alive, calling up to the ship from the water below. And standing among them is another version of herself. It is an exact replay of everything that has just happened. The same moment. The same people. The beginning again. Jess is horrified. She runs to the banquet hall to shadow the new group's movements. And that is when the pieces click into place. The mysterious figure she saw watching them earlier, the one she could not identify? That was herself. She was the stranger in the shadows. Victor from the new group tracks her to the deck. Jess forces herself to stay calm and tries to explain everything. Everyone has been killed, there is another version of her on the ship right now, and all of it has happened before. Victor looks at her like she has lost her mind because she might have. But Jess presses on, telling him that the Victor she arrived with is already dead in the banquet hall, with a wound in his head. What she cannot yet bring herself to say out loud is that she is the one who put it there. Unable to face what she is becoming, Jess breaks away and stumbles into a storage room. On the floor she finds dozens and dozens of handwritten notes, all saying the same thing. If they board, kill them all. She picks up a pen and writes it again herself. The handwriting is identical. These notes are hers. All of them. The dying words of the masked attacker come back to her. The only way home is to kill everyone. And Jess understands. That masked figure was almost certainly herself. A version of herself who had already been through this loop and come out the other side with one terrible conclusion. There is no way out unless everyone dies. She wrestles with it. Every instinct she has is screaming no. In the end, she cannot accept it. She refuses to believe that murder is the answer. Whatever the logic of this nightmare is, whatever trap she has fallen into, she is going to try to save her friends, not sacrifice them. She pulls on a dark jacket, grabs a double-barreled shotgun and heads out. Meanwhile, the new group follows the same path as before, step by step, without knowing it. Downey and Sally head toward the theater. The second Jess has her own encounter with the injured Victor in the banquet hall. But this time there is an interruption. Jess steps in, armed, placing herself between them. She wants to protect Victor, but she cannot bring herself to harm the other version of herself. That other Jess sees the hesitation and slips out. Jess tries to explain herself to Victor, but before she can, a shot fires from inside the theater. Greg is dead again. This time, however, Jess's presence makes a difference. Because she has lived through this moment before, she is able to pull Downey and Sally out of the line of fire and even manages to wound the masked shooter. With the immediate danger handled, she hands the gun to Downey with strict instructions. Shoot anyone, no questions asked, while she goes to look for Victor. But Victor has vanished from the banquet hall. Following the trail of blood to the deck, Jess pieces together what happened. Someone threw him overboard. Back inside the ship, another gunshot. Downey has spotted a shadowy figure and opened fire around a corner, trying to drive them out. The figure steps forward and removes their mask. It is Jess. A third version. Call her Jess 3. Jess 3 tells Downey that Victor is dead, and that if he and Sally want to survive, they need to follow her. She leads them to room 237. And the moment the door closes behind them, she kills Downey with a knife. Sally manages to survive a slash and escapes into the hallway. Jess arrives on the scene just as Sally bolts. She chases after her, desperate to explain, but Sally is beyond the point of listening. She cannot tell who is who anymore. She has no idea which Jess to trust, or if she can trust either one. All she knows is that she cannot stop running. If this storyline has your mind spinning right now, you are not alone. Drop a comment with your theory, smash that like button, and subscribe so you never miss another deep dive like this one.